Hello, and welcome to episode 138 of Design Curious Podcast. I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. Today on the podcast, we have guest Alison Geise, and let me tell you a little bit more about her. Alison is the visionary founder and principal designer of Alison Geise Interiors, an esteemed boutique interior design firm based in San Antonio, Texas. Alison has cultivated a reputation for seamlessly blending sophisticated elements with unparalleled finishes, resulting in homes that are visually stunning and deeply reflective of her clients' distinct stories. Alison's journey into interior design is as unique as her creations. After a diverse career as a registered dietitian and law school graduate, a transformative move overseas ignited her passion for design, prompting her to pursue a certificate in interior decorating. Drawing inspiration from her travels and rich experiences, she creates interiors that embody a refined sense of place and character. I know you're going to enjoy our conversation today, so let's get into it. You're now listening to Design Curious, a place where you, creative one, are here to learn about what it really is like to be an interior designer. And I'm your host and mentor, Rebecca Ward. If you're worried about how to succeed in a creative career, if you're ready to learn your next steps to become an interior designer, and if you want the satisfaction of doing something you love every day, you are in the right place. Grab a coffee, a notebook, and let's dig into today's episode. Hi, Alison. Welcome to Design Curious Podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. We were just saying, I think we're similarly minded in wanting to help up-and-coming designers get into the career. But first, let's start with your path into it. It's circuitous, it seems like, to get into interior design. So how did the design ever start in your life?
Yeah, I like to call it the scenic route. To go really far back, I have always had a passion for, I didn't realize like design, but like decorating. My mom decorated around the house, not anything formal. And I remember having a conversation with my dad before I went off to college, and it was talking about majors and what I wanted to do. And I said, I'm really interested in restoring old homes. And he was like, yeah, that sounds like a rich lady's hobby. Because I didn't have any exposure to design as a profession. That was his experience with seeing people decorating or
Yeah,
whatnot.
sure.
Anyway, so I went into university and did more of a science path, eventually getting a BS in nutrition and practicing in medical sales for about 5 years, and realized I loved the people aspect of it. And I didn't love the sales so much of
Mm,
it, just kind of detrimental. I was decent at it, but it was just a lot of, if you can do this much, then you can do this much, that sort of thing.
yeah, okay.
So I had a pivot. I was dating the man I'm now married to, and he was getting out of law school. And he's kind of, well, if you're unhappy and you don't know what you want to do, maybe you should go to law school. It's never a bad thing to get more education. You seem like you'd be a good lawyer. I had always been told I'd be a good lawyer. I guess it's because I argue a lot, or I argue well, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. The kind of proverbial Bugs Bunny took a turn at Albuquerque thing and went to law
Yeah.
school. We got
Wow.
married, and then his first jobs took us out of state. And that's where I really started to be aware a little bit more of design, because we had a home we were working on, an old home. And then he took a position overseas with his work, and that took us to Brazil. And in kind of my isolation, in that we weren't living on a base, we weren't living on embassy grounds or anything. We were living among, it was isolating because I didn't know the language. And a friend of mine sent me a blog, an interior design blog. And this was like 2008. So it was right at peak
Yeah.
blogging time. And I remember just binging it and going, oh my gosh, this is something people really do for a living. It's not just a hobby.
Mm.
So from that point, I just tried to absorb as much as I could. We were having a family, and it really wasn't a time to make a career change per se there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great place to just soak in everything design, because Brazil is such a mix. Everything. There's leftover traditionalism from the colonial times. There's a lots of mid-century modern, because there was just a lot of movement with that. And that's still really very much their vibe. And there's just like tropical element all mixed in. So I just soaked everything I could. And then when we moved back to the States in 2013, still had really young family. I had a baby that was 6 weeks old. But it was at that point that I was like, okay, now that I'm back on ground where I, would even know how to maybe get a business started, I want to think about this a little bit more seriously. So within a year or so, I enrolled in just like a community college course in interior decorating.
Okay.
That's a long-winded version.
That is quite a path. And first of all, I'd say going into law school is not for the weak-hearted. My husband went through law school. He's an attorney now, and he would always recommend people not to go. So hard.
No,
But you
I
enjoyed it.
well, I by the time I graduated, I knew we were already going to move out of Texas, so I was
Yeah.
already like, "Okay, so I've got my law degree here, studied all Texas law as far as the state stuff, and we're not even gonna be living here anymore." So I think
Mm,
it's already like, "How am I gonna make this work?"
yeah.
And didn't quite know if I had the passion for it.
Yeah.
Looking back now, having been in business, and it's really become important to understand the contracts and all that, I do lean on having that law degree. I don't use it in a
Mhm.
formal way, but I bet if I went back to law school now, I'd make much better grades because I just have experienced situations in my business that are unfortunately pulled
Yeah.
in law consideration. So
Okay. Yeah, and then the Brazil aspect is really interesting as well. Brazil's becoming quite a hot commodity now in our market. A lot of companies importing from Brazil
mhm.
and establishing themselves in the United States, which I think is really interesting. It's probably going to bring some of that aesthetic as well as they take root here in the United States. So I think that's great to have some of that background. Do you find influence from spending time there in your designs now?
Oh, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And even just growing up in South Texas like I did, we traveled a lot. It was only like a 4-hour drive to just go down to the border and go shopping right there along the border in Mexico. That heavily influenced my aesthetic. And so certainly, I think when I think about the things that I love that I describe as crusty, lots of patina, wear, showing age, imperfect, that is definitely driven by sort of the old antique stuff that we would find down in Mexico. And then Brazil, I find myself drawn to a lot of the character of the wood that you find
Mm,
in a lot of pieces. So for sure. And in the mid-century, that really introduced me to some of the mid-century modern stuff that I'm kind of the iconic things that we associate
yeah.
with that period. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, really fun, really fun. Okay, so then you took a class in interior decorating at a community college, which a lot of people on their second career or third career path will try that out to see if it's for them. And so you really adhered to what you were learning there and it inspired you?
It did. It taught me more of the design process. We learned how to do floor plans. We learned how to do reflective ceiling plans in terms of lighting. We did not learn any of the business aspect. And to the degree where I asked our professor specifically, are we going to learn about how we price these jobs and how we get jobs and how you set yourself apart? And he said, I am specifically forbidden to talk about anything business aligned. So
Really? Oh,
yes, it was really eye-opening. He didn't say why. It was just the parameters of the course. So
yeah.
I feel like that was a big gap in the learning experience.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that always has been the case. And that's what a lot of designers say looking back at that they didn't learn the business side, which is so important for most residential designers because they're going into business for themselves.
Yeah.
And I took a 4-year degree in college in interior design, and we had one class called business practices where we had a textbook. We had to make like a logo and some stationery and
Well,
about it. So,
it was only those things, those fun.
yeah.
Yeah. So one of my associate designers that I have working for me is getting his degree in interior design and a minor in business. And I
Mhm.
just think so smart.
Mhm. Yeah, and I actually know a designer in Central California who does require any designer that she hires to have a minor in business. So
Oh,
she'll
it's so
encourage them if they're still in college, but she likes to groom them out of college, and then she'll be like, "Go and add on a minor in business because you're gonna need that when you're working for me." So,
yeah.
yeah.
That's the first time I have heard that in terms of just like looking for a skill set. That's
Mhm.
like it's great advice.
Yeah, yeah, I think more of us should do that. But, yeah, and then out of that need, I think a lot of the business coaching programs have sprung up over the past several years because of that need. So that is definitely something then you've been focusing on since you've established your business. And then I know you have something that's called the Interior Design Business Launchpad, and so does that kind of go into teaching the business side to up and coming designers?
It does. It talks about setting it up. So it's a very entry level. I have no interest in being in the coaching space, but I cannot tell you how many questions I got about how did you get started? What courses did you take? What did you do? And I just thought I have answered this so many times. I'm going to put it in one place where
Yeah.
people can reference it and maybe it can be helpful. The Launchpad is solely from my perspective. I don't pretend that it's like this template for everyone. It is solely for people starting off who have an experience like mine. So that might be lack of formal education, maybe even a second or third career. And maybe they've tried getting a job in another firm like I did and then couldn't get a job because they didn't have technical skills. So that is the brainchild of it is my specific experience.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. What's so great about all the different programs that are out there, yours, I mean, I have one and other coaching places have it, is that everyone comes from a different point in their life and they need something different from everybody. So it's great to have so many resources available. So that's great. I did take a look at it and it seems like a very thorough course and well priced. And so it's nice that it's available to people out there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you checking it out.
Yeah. Okay, so let's turn to your current business practice and your design career. So, how do you approach creating timeless homes with soul for your clients? Is that one of the phrases that you put in your questions? Timeless homes with soul. So, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I always feel like I think as designers, we assume everyone knows our lingo and everyone knows
Hmm.
what we mean, and that is not necessarily the case. So I usually have to take a step back and say, what does soul mean? That's a weird word to use. For me, it means using pieces that have that character, that crustiness, that don't look like they're off of a showroom floor. And that is so important to our work. I don't put a number on it, but I like at least 30% of the pieces that we source for a project to be vintage, antique, have some patina, have that imperfection because it just changes the atmosphere immediately. In terms of the timelessness, it really is just what we associate with not trendy or trying at least not to be focused on trends. You can't escape, I think, all of the information coming at us for what's hot, what's not, that sort of thing. But we
Yeah.
try to muffle that a bit and really just let it be focused on what does the client need? What do they love? How do they need this house to serve them? And how do they want to feel in this house? Let that as selections. And I find that just lends itself to a more timeless sense in a space.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. So it becomes timeless for the client in that they want to keep it for a long time. It's not just that they saw dopamine decor was hot right now and that's what they want in their house, but maybe that is what they actually love and they could live in that house for 20 years of it looking like that. So, yeah, each client has their own needs and style. And so that's how a lot of designers will design. So I love that identifying the soul and then making it pertain to the client individually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of battle may be a strong word, but the amount of information that our clients are getting inundated with too, if they choose. So if they're on Pinterest, they're on Instagram, that algorithm is being built based on the images they're liking or saving. And so it's just a continuous loop and they're being fed a lot of the same things. You can't tell people to get off platforms, but I just say, let's bring in some books. Let's bring in some magazines. Let's bring in even some older things, older books, older magazines, and find some things that still look current
Yeah.
today and try to pull away from the algorithm, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah, when I was young, I would go through Architectural Digest and pull out the images that inspired me, and I recently found this binder in my garage that's been tucked away in a and it was interesting to go through and see the looks at some of them were still timeless, like, just the elements that I was attracted to were definitely things I could still do today, and that was fun to see. But yeah, I like going to those old magazines and could probably even thrift them or something, find old Architectural Digest, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about diversifying revenue streams. I saw that you are on The Expert and as a virtual consultation offering. Tell me about how you go about becoming a designer on The Expert, because I haven't really looked into that process, but I think that is nice to have as a revenue source.
Yeah. Well, I think Expert started in 2021. Can't be positive of that, but I had heard about it. I actually reached out to them and said, "Hey, don't know a whole lot about this, but we're not currently offering virtual consultations. So this could be a great way for us to do that, for us to provide that offering." I submitted the application and the photos and all that and was accepted on it pretty early on. So it really fit the need for the time too, because a lot of people were still they're not comfortable with people coming into their homes, but they were in their homes. I feel like it was very of its time. And it also just fit the need of, hey, this is something I can help someone with in an hour or 30 minutes. And it's crazy what amount of progress you can make or just get people out of a stuck point in their project in that amount of time. So that is great. In terms of other diversification, you always hear, at least I've heard there's like the seven spokes of
Yeah. Yeah.
diversified income. That seems like a lot for an interior design business. I haven't gotten that far, but so we've got kind of that virtual element with the expert, and we've got the passive income coming with the launch pad. And we're not talking huge dollars here, but it
Yeah.
helps the weight off of, oh my gosh, we haven't seen as many inquiries coming in, or
Mm.
maybe it's a prime. So I think that's critical. And a lot of designers, I think, do live in a feast or famine situation because of just the nature of the industry and it being so closely tied to economics that people are very sensitive. And I would say design's the first thing that's going to go, even if they have a project that they're already into. So it just helps buffer that. And I think it also, if you're interested in expanding your brand, that's a way to do that too. There's multifaceted reasons to do it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, that's great advice. Let's look back as you were establishing your business. I know there's a lot of challenges that designers face as they're establishing and getting into the industry. What kind of things did you face as like a second slash maybe third career transition into owning your own business, but also being a designer and establishing yourself among your peers? What kind of things did you have to overcome?
First and foremost, I did want to work under another designer. I knew that I didn't know anything about running a business. At the time, we were living in Northern Virginia, so the Washington, D.C. suburbs. So highly educated, lots of availability for skill set there. And I could not get a job, like even working for free. They're like, if you don't have CAD or some kind of drafting skills to be the proverbial drafting monkey,
Yeah.
they just weren't interested. It wasn't worth their time. And I get it because just to train someone costs you time, especially if you're a small firm. I was forced to go out on my own. I worked for a styling business for a little while, styling to sell homes. And you're just like, oh, this is not. In terms of, I felt like I was forced without having that formal and technical experience. In terms of getting clients, we were in an area where we were new to the area. I did not have any family or friends where I could do the, hey, let me work on a room in your house just to get some experience and some exposure. So all I really could do was work on our own house and just room by room, try to make improvements. And then when I felt like I had enough to get it photographed, to start building a little bit of a portfolio. I think, and as I just started like being maybe more active on socials and having a website, I do think that professional photography really helped because it also introduced me to a photographer and a stylist who had a lot of other contacts at other designers they were working for in the area. I don't know this, but it's possible that they were working for another designer who may have said, yeah, I've got some projects that are smaller in scope than I want to do. Do you know anybody I could refer this to? So I did start getting referrals from designers that were passing on some work, which was great.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And so how did you overcome not having that technical part? Like when you needed to produce drawings for your clients, did you hire that out or did you learn
I I didn't do
eventually?
drawings at first, and that just wasn't a part of my offerings at first. But
Oh,
shortly thereafter, when I did realize, like I was just doing my floor plans by hand, the way I had
okay.
learned it. So just good old graph paper, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When that just became too time consuming because of additional work or whatnot, I used Upwork a little bit to outsource that. And then one of my first hires was someone who had some experience, a designer who did know how to do drawing.
Good. Yeah, that's helpful. Okay. So then let's talk about maybe a favorite project that you worked on as you're developing your career, maybe one that encapsulates your design ethos or just something that was really fun to work on as you were growing.
Yeah, I would probably say that was my last big project in Virginia before we moved or as we were moving. So this was like in the middle of COVID. We moved to Texas in July of 2020. So I had been hired for this project, I guess, right about the end of right around, I guess, 2019. So new construction, big house, prestigious architectural firm, which was really intimidating because it was like fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
I done big remodels where we worked with contractors and architects peripherally, but not at the level that this was going to require. I consider this the unicorn project because the clients were so chill. They knew what they wanted, they knew what they liked, but they really just were like, they handed it over in terms of this is what we like, this is the kind of vibe we're going for, created. I know that's a dream situation. You just given the chance to spread your wings, but it still felt collaborative. It didn't feel like I was working alone, but it was creatively invigorating. I leaned into what I thought was an aesthetic that I would love to have too, that I could live in that house, and it resonated. So it was really fulfilling. And I did this big project, and it's a sensational like final product. Had a sensational design team to work with. Just the whole package was amazing.
Oh, I wish all of our client projects could be like that. It's so fun when
Yeah.
you come across those. But
The ones that aren't make you really, really appreciate the ones that
it's
are.
true. Yeah, it's a good foil. So, how do you balance in your everyday the creativity side and the business side, and how do you stay inspired?
Oh my gosh. Well, in terms of balancing the creative and the business side, in the last 2 years, I have hired a fractional operations company.
Hmm.
And that was huge because I got to a point where I was hiring, but I was hiring just to hire help, but I wasn't hiring with a specific skill set. And it became very evident that this was not working. I needed to build a team and I needed to build the processes. I had a process, but it felt like they were just constantly fluid
Mm.
and nothing that we just went back to every single time. Like, this is what we do here. This is what we do here. It was always like, this is what we did. We're going to change that a little bit this time. So just recognizing that I needed that operational kind of backbone was huge. So the last 2 years have been about getting into systems, platforms that we use, software that we use that are project management driven. I've got help on the back end. So got a pretty robust amount of help that's virtual, including a virtual assistant. I've got project manager, ops team, tech people, like that include all of that. So that
Nice.
balance it. I still find that I have a control problem.
Most
I
designers
have
do.
a hard time handing things over. But that's also where they're great because my project manager is just super business oriented. And she's like, this is costing you money for you to take on this task when you could be doing something creative that you can charge your rate at and make money on that. So that helps having, I like to call them like business bouncers. They stand at the door and tell me, this is not where you need to be spending your time anymore. And we say that with all the love and support that we can, but get out, go do what you need to do. The creative stuff, honestly, it's hard because I really have to be in the headspace. I have to light the candles, put on the music. I find that sometimes my best design work is when I come in on a Sunday and there's nobody asking me questions. I can just get in that zone. But having said that, it is amazing to me how people can design and knock out a house design in a day because I put something together and think about it, and then I'll see something or shoot, some fabric company will send me a fabric. And I'm like, oh my God, this
Shiny new object.
definitely got to be incorporated. And then it
Yeah.
moves design. So maybe a little bit of design ADD, but
Yeah.
I think that's the question for all quote unquote creative directors or owners of their business is how do you get that fulfillment out of the creative side, the reason you got into it, and
Yeah.
still manage all the things.
It is trying to strike a balance because the business side can be completely consuming and you have to set aside that time for the creativity. So, yeah, I like that image of you coming in on a Sunday when no one's there and having the
Yeah,
candles and the music.
no offense to my team, but it's just a different
Yeah.
time, different headspace. So with the business stuff, at least for me, I think, so we use ClickUp and you create all these tasks in ClickUp. And Some of them are menial tasks and just things like you put it on task just so you can check it, so you can look back and remember that you did it. But I think there's that, you talked about the dopamine. I think there's that element of dopamine that like, hey, check the box, but
Hmm.
move the business forward. So there's that element of almost like busy work, like being busy just to be busy, because
Yeah.
there's this big design component that I need to finish. And I know it's going to take me 2 hours to really get into that. And I know I can't finish it. So I'm just going to do this little menial thing that I know I can check the box. And that's something that I find I really have to watch myself with.
Mm. So it's blocking out that time and making sure, like maybe if you're better, more creative in the mornings, like block out the
Mhm.
whole morning so you can have the time to
Yeah.
get into it, do it, and then come
Yeah.
out.
And recognizing when I'm doing that, recognize when I'm like, seems like I'm procrastinating on the big.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm the same way often too. So yes, I get you there. Yeah. So I like that you mentioned you use ClickUp. Is there any other software that you found really beneficial to help your systems and your structure?
We love Slack. So we've got, I don't know how many different Slack channels, but it's a great way to essentially text, but keep it categorized, be able to go back and reference it. So love Slack. ClickUp is so robust that I can't even wrap my head around it entirely yet. We still rely a lot on Google Workspace. I treat Google as our digital filing cabinet. So we use slide decks for our inspiration and putting together designs, the visual aspect of designs, and we use sheets for procurement. You name it, we use all aspects of the Google Workspace, really. And I'm
Okay.
not ready to give that up yet.
And then your fractional operations people, are they all virtual or do some of them come in?
They're all virtual
Okay.
and they're all over the world. It is really crazy. So
Wow.
talking to someone and they are like the next day, their time.
Yeah.
It's
Amazing.
crazy, but it's just amazing what we can get done.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Oh, really interesting approach. I like that. Okay. So, any other advice you'd have for someone who's up and coming in interior design or considering a career change like you did? What would you tell them?
It's a boring answer, but it is true to get some work done and document it because the fact is we're in a visual business and if you don't photograph it, it's almost like it didn't happen. That doesn't mean it has to be if social's not your thing and it wears you out and it feels like a full-time job, it's because it is. But document what you're doing, even if it's a small area, and try to get your work out there. Invest in a website, get photos on it as soon as possible because it just helps validate what you're doing. And the more you put yourself out there, I think as a professional and not just someone who's got a side gig, the more likely you are to get better projects and people to take you seriously.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good advice. Well, thanks, Allison, for coming on and sharing your path and your insight and expertise. Enjoyed hearing all about that.
Absolutely. I was happy to be here. I'm always happy to chat about the different ways to do this. I do feel like as an industry, everyone has different paths and it's still a little bit gatekeeper-ish, almost like people want to protect their success. And I feel that way. I really do. It sounds cheesy, but I really do cheerlead for everyone to get out there and do their thing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's what we need more of. So, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
I am physically in San Antonio, Texas. I'm on Instagram, Alison Geise Interiors, Pinterest. I'm not really active on LinkedIn, unfortunately. I mean, I'm on there,
Yeah,
not active on it. And then just the website. Anyone who even like DMs me through Instagram, if they're interested in working with us, I'll send them through the website so we can get that tracking in our system.
great. Okay, we'll put those links in the show notes so they can find you. And it's great chatting with you. And I'm sure we'll talk with you soon.
You too, Rebecca. Have a great day.
So definitely reach out to Allison if you have questions for her, or you're interested in that course that she has to offer. And don't forget, we have My Design Mentor. If you would like to have a mentor as you're getting into the career of interior design, then I am here for you. You can sign up on our monthly subscription platform. There's a community in there, there's learning modules, and you can meet with me. So many good things. Also, don't forget, we have great downloads for you. All those links are found in the show notes, as well as how to get in touch with Alison. And that's it for this week. Next week, we'll have another great episode, and until then, stay creative. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode, please leave a rating and a review. This helps me reach other curious creatives like you. If you have a topic request or would like to contact me, simply head over to my website, rwarddesign.com, or email me at podcast@rwarddesign.com.